Why did the Prophet say such? Because there is a chain of messengers that connects us who live on this world to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who rules over all worlds. Us the material to Lord the divine. We have our divine elements. But that chain that would connect us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and us his creation, wahi. There is a chain to this. And after the Prophet is to leave, you have Muhammad as he leaves this world, you have Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein, and the children of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu salam, and the last of them, may Allah hasten his appearance, قائم آل محمد صاحب العصر والزمان. This is what we discussed yesterday. This is what was to be understood. Why Ali? Why the family of Ali? Because the Prophet has asked us. See, we as people who are called the Shi'as of the Ahlul Bayt or Shi'a Athna Ashari, this is our objective, this is our desire, this is our agenda, this is what we do, these are the rules and regulations of engagement and how we perform and behave. We cannot transgress from what our Imams tell us, and we cannot hold back from what our Imams also tell us. An example I'd like to tell you, the difference between Imam and Ma'mum. One of the people in Kufa or Medina, I don't remember exactly, but decided, he says, I want to be the first one to go to the masjid tonight and do my Salat al-Layl or Tahajjud. I want to be the first one tonight in the masjid. So he gets up early and he gets to the masjid and he notices, because there's no roads or tarmac, there's sand and dirt, he notices footsteps leading from an alley towards the entrance of the masjid. He says, okay, if not the first, I'm happy to be in second place. So he enters the masjid and lo and behold, he says, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi is already engaged in busy with his Salat al-Layl or Salat al-Tahajjud. He says, okay, khair, if I did not come first, who better to lose to than Ali ibn Abi Talib? Then while he says, okay, I am the second one in the masjid, he hears a tasbih or an istighfar from a corner. And he says, oh, there's somebody else other than Ali. He looks around and he sees Salman. After they're both done, he says, Salman, I have a question. When I came to the masjid, I noticed there was only one set of footprints outside the masjid. There was no signs of two people coming to the masjid. There's only one set of people or footsteps coming to the masjid. Salman says, this is the essence of following an imam. You place your foot where the imam placed his foot. Nor do you transgress where he's put his foot. Nor do you go behind where he's put. But this is the understanding of Salman. And this is how we behave to the best of our capability, our ability. And this is how we do what the Prophet ﷺ has asked us to do. One of the reasons we're gathered here today on this event is because the Prophet ﷺ commanded us to قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. I don't want anything in reward except for the love of my family and those who are close to me. Ali is the closest to the Prophet ﷺ. A linguistic discussion, I don't want to go deep into this. I don't want to bore my children sitting here with this, but understand there is mahabba and then there is mawadda. Mahabba is to love. If I have feelings, sentiments, or if I love someone, that is al-mahabba. Al-mawadda is when that love translates into myself and my body parts. When I start saying I love them, when I start proclaiming my love, when I start doing things to prove their love, when I do things in their love. So when the sentiment translates into, or the emotion translates into motion, the muhabba becomes mawadda.
Subhanallah.
So the Prophet does not say, I want you to love them, just loving them, only in your heart, only with your intention. He says, no, al-mawadda. Raghib Isfahani in his book writes another interesting thing. He says, mawadda, usually think it comes from the word wadada, which means to love, like I just said. He says, no, there's another word. When Quran says, وَجِبَالًا أَوْتَادًا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has pegged mountains in their place. They do not move. Nothing can move them. He says the root of this is watada. So in a sense or a manner of understanding, the Prophet is saying, attach yourself, co-join yourself, be one with the household of the Prophet, that nothing can shake you from their love. Nothing can move you. Nothing can cause you to now go astray. Go away from who? Muhammad and Al Muhammad. Musalli ala Muhammad. We read this hadith. We went through this hadith yesterday. Shi'atuna khuluqun min fadil tinatina. I kept the first half for yesterday, and now I'd like to present the second half. The Imam says, our Shi'as were created from the leftover, whatever material Allah used to create us. This was the first half, and we talked about this yesterday. The other half, he says, the sign of our Shi'as is يَفْرَحُونَ لِفَرْحِنَا وَيَحْزَنُونَ لِحُزْنِنَا. The sign of our Shia, the sign of someone who loves us, the sign of someone who belongs to us and we belong to them, is that they're happy when we're happy and they're sad when we're sad. Not only our actions in line with their teachings, our feelings, our hearts, our desires, our wants, our needs are all in line with how they are, because this is the nature of love. This is how love behaves and belongs. This is how love performs. Love at a point would come and say, I desire nothing, I want nothing, I want to be a subject to whatever you will, to whatever you desire. This is absolute submission. The extreme, at the end of love, where does the trail of love end? Is I belong to you, such that there is no more I left anymore. There is no I-ness left anymore. One of the poets in Farsi, when they write, the Hafiz or Rumi, he says a man went to the market to buy a slave, and amongst the many slaves he saw, they all came with different properties and characteristics. Like, oh, this one is built strong and he's tall and he can do many tasks. And this one is very intelligent, he can go buy things, he can use them for procurement or whatever reasons. Many slaves were shown to him, and he said, you know what, he interviewed them, how you would interview someone for a job. He says, no, I don't think you have someone I need or something I require right now. He says, no, there's another one. So this man shows up, and he's not very strongly built. He looks weak, meager, but he says, okay, what's your name? He asks the man who wants to purchase his slave, he says, what's your name? The slave says, whatever name you give me. He says, what can you do? He says, whatever you teach me. He says, where will you live? He says, wherever you put me. He says, what will you eat? Whatever you give me. He may not look like the perfect, strong worker you need, but he understood the essence of submission. This example is a story, and there's many connotations to it, slavery and all those things, but the idea to gather from here is this. When you submit to someone who's an authority, like as such, this is how one is to submit, ideally. Please recite the salawat on Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We found in history, not only the Amir was such, nobody could have been better than the Amir, but even the people he entrusted with, Malik al-Ashtar. The Ma'asum, who is the thiqa of the Prophet, the Ma'soom who's entrusted by the Prophet, says, Malik wa ashtar thiqati. Malik Ashtar is someone I trust. I, Ali ibn Abi Talib, trust.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
I have sent him forth with commandments towards Misr. Why is Malik Ashtar? You look at his story, you look at. Sometimes we understand the companions of Ali through Ali, and sometimes we understand Ali through the companions of Ali.
Subhanallah.
Malik Ashtar, a commander in his time, he's walking in the alleyways. He didn't wear or dress like a 5-star general. There's no badges to show. The only badges to show are scars, for instance, right? That's why he's called Ashtar, because he had a scar across his left eye. Malik Ashtar walking in the market one day towards the mosque. A lady comes up to him and she says, come here, you men. Pick this up for me. And he picks it up and he says, take it to my house. And he walks with her to his house. He says, put it down and come back tomorrow, do the same thing. And he leaves. Somebody comes up and says, do you know who this man is? This is the commander of Ali's army. This is Malik Ashtar. She's like, I'm sorry, I did not know this. He's like, no, I liked what you did. He was very humble. Like Ali is humble. Ali against Marhab is Haydar Karrar. But Ali in the Mihrab is Abd of the Mukhtar.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
Understand who Ali is. Ali in the Mihrab is something else, someone else. Because it is who you are with at that time. Why also is Malik Ashtar important? Because it is Siffin. There is 2 armies at fight in the Muslim civil war. One has come from Syria and one has risen from Kufa. This battle goes on for a long time. For a long time they've been fighting, and this is bloodshed amongst the Muslims, a very sad state of affairs. And this is where also the Khawarij came out. Ibn Muljim, La'natullahi alayhi, he is a product of this civil unrest. Then the Kharijis became a faction, and they called the Amir misguided. They called the Amir of this man Syria misguided. And there's a whole history behind this. We'll talk about this a little later. But yes, the role of Malik Ashtar in this war. First of all, when the Syrian man brings his army, he says, okay, Ali, these are our terms and conditions. The Amir writes to him a letter and he says very poignantly, he's like, listen, son of such and such, why kill, why shed the blood of so many Muslims? Let's me and you get to the battlefield and finish this. It's very simple. Let's not have all these people involved. Me, Ali, and you, the son of. Come to the battlefield and let's deal with this one-on-one. He said, no. This can't be, this can't happen. The battle got intense. They fought. It got to a point where Amr bin As advised his king, presumed, and he says, Ali will win. People who are with Ali will win. The only thing we can do is we take the Quran, we shred it to pieces, and we put it upon the spears, and then we hold it against, and we said, let Allah to judge between us. Let's stop this fighting, let's stop this bloodshed, so at least our lives are saved, and we leave and we go back, and then we think of another plot. This is the Al-Umayyah and the Banu Umayyah, and this is how they were operating. It was 2 factions. It was the Alawis and the Umayyas. Yes. But there came a time when Malik Ashtar, you see, I mentioned this yesterday, قُولُوا لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ تُفْلِحُوا. It's easy for us to say La ilaha illallah right now, but at that time when everyone's against you, La ilaha illallah is very difficult. If you were to sit down and study and research, the Prophet lived in Medina for 10 years, the governance, right? If you were to see how many battles were there, Muslims were going to battle every 3 or 4 months. You came home, you did what you had to do to take care of your family, and the Prophet's like, Yallah jihad. And then you go again. You come home, and then you went. And this is not where you're guaranteed to come back. You're going for battle. And you don't always come back in one piece, most of them. You come back injured. Those 3 months you were recovering, and the Prophet's like, Yallah, The Muslim Ummah needs you. Islam needs you. Let's go for jihad. Every 3-4 months, the ghazawat, the battles you had, and the Ummah slowly grew. It didn't just grow up overnight. And the battles were not people on rooftops sniping at their enemies. This was hand-to-hand combat. You saw the fear in your friend's eyes, and you saw the terror in the eyes of your enemies, mathalan. You heard the swords, you saw the arrows. This was a fierce battle. So fighting for so long, for so many nights, Malik-e-Ashtar gets to a point where he sees the tent of the Syrian. And he says, now I can end his life and end this fitna. Somebody comes up to Malik-e-Ashtar and he says, Malik, Ali is calling you. He says, tell the Emir. He says, tell the Emir, I'm very close, I'm here to kill. If I kill this man, the fitna is done. The civil unrest is finished. Ali has no opposition. You understand? Ali has no opposition. He says, no. Ali wants you back. All those nights of fighting, all that effort, all those strategies, bringing all those people, all the courage to get to one point is to finish this fitna. And he's at the doorstep. He says, your Imam is calling you right now, return. And he turns around and he returns. This is Malik al-Ashtar. These are the ashab. Loyalty also is easy, but to control and contain one's emotions, to control and contain one's wills and desires. Sometimes you think you know what's good, and at that time, this is the best thing to do, if you were to intellectualize it, to kill the Ra'sul Fitna, and then go back and tell the Imam, I couldn't help myself, for instance. But he says, who do I lie to? Ali. Who do I tell I couldn't control myself? Ali. He says, he knows everything. I go back. So these are the people who follow, and these are the people who use as role models. This is for the kids to understand why we gather here today, why we talk about Ali, why we talk about the Prophet, why is it necessary to sit here, to learn this, to know this, to identify this. The world has changed. It's a different world. People look up to different people to become their role models. Identify those who are role models who would help you in this world and who would help you in the next world. An example, Ali ibn Abi Talib. How? If I was to ask a child, it's like, or a teenager, it says, who do you think is successful? How do you define success? How do you success? You said, this man's a legend. So who's got followers on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter? It says, whoever's got the most followers, he's a winner. He's got assets, he's got his Bugattis, he's got his houses, properties, and everything, and he's the one, this man's a winner. This man is a winner, other people are losers. And I want to become like this person. For instance, this is the mindset. This is success. This is victory in life, or this is winning in life. Money, haythiyah, assets, all those things, this is winning. The Ahlul Bayt define things a little differently.
Inshallah.
Victory for the Ahlul Bayt is something different. Winning for Ahlul Bayt is something different. Muru'ah for the Ahlul Bayt is something different. Chivalry for the Ahlul Bayt is something different. Submission for the Ahlul Bayt is something different. A simple anecdote, and then I move on. You know how we operate as human beings? We operate how computers operate, because we can only design something that either is experienced by us or is reflected by us or understood by us. We've designed the computer perfectly to behave like us. How? We have a programming language that is called our aqaid. Our belief system is the code we have that we consciously or subconsciously process to behave in this world. Whatever we believe in then defines and describes our action. Whatever we are coded with on a subatomic level, this is how we behave. If we consider someone to be an authority, and we agree that an authority should be respected no matter who that someone is. Because we say authority should be respected, we respect that person. We program ourselves. We say, why do you stand up for this man in respect? Because he's such and such. So the code you go back to is if the person is such and such, you respect him. Now all these codes are made up of words. Yes? If I was to say a statement, respect the powerful. Be humble in front of someone who's teaching you. These words, start redefining them according to the dictionary of Muhammad and al-Muhammad. Anything you understand or you perceive you understand, any idea or notion, go back to the Quran, go back to the Ahlul Bayt. It says, this is how I understand victory. This is how I understand success. What do the Ahlul Bayt say? Who is strong? Who is weak? Who is a coward? Who is a brave man? So now that we've understood to an extent what the children say, or the would say, who successful is, a man who is the Emir of the Muslimin, who had 3 civil Muslim battles in his life. His wife was killed in his lifetime. The Muslim world is slowly, ala dhahir, apparently falling apart. But when he is struck with the sword, he says, وَرَبِّ الْكَعْبَةِ فُزْتُ وَرَبِّ الْكَعْبَةِ. By the Lord of the Kaaba, Ali today is successful.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. Narai Haydari.
It's like either I don't understand success, which I don't, or Ali has a separate definition for success. How is Ali defining success? Failed state? Maybe it's not important. Shahadat, for us, he says we wear it like a badge, it is pride. He says everything you equate to be successful, Ali does not consider to be anything. You know what is success for Ali? When he walks in the middle of the night and the aitam gather around him and he sits on the ground and he plays with them and he feeds them, this is successful for Ali ibn Abi Talib.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
When Ali leaves this world and random people showing up at the door of Ali ibn Abi Talib, he says, our friend, he hasn't come to see us in a few days. He says, your friend is no longer in this world anymore. This is success. 1400 years later, we gather here today, 1,000 and more miles away from Mecca, Medina, Najaf, and Kufa, and I say Ali, and you respond Ali, this is success.
Narai Haydari.
You understand how they define success and how we understand success. There's so much to say. There's so much to say, but I understand this. And how do we understand their definition of success? See, if I was to explain something to you, let's say I'm talking about a fruit that is only available in a particular part of Pakistan, and children or people don't know here. If I say amrud, some people would understand amrud and some kids would not. It's like, amrud kya hota hai? I don't know amrud. So the best or the easiest way for me to do is I show him an amrud, like, yeah, amrud. This is an amrud, right? This is the easiest way. But if I don't have anything to show, what I do is I use to the best of my ability. So first, the limitations of my vocabulary, how many words I can use and how I use them, the imagery I have, because what is communication basically? What is communication? Is I have an image in my head, which I need to transfer to your head, exactly as it exists in my head. This is communication. This is the essence of communication. What I have here, I need to translate and transform to you, and I use words and language as a vehicle. But something that cannot be, if I don't know the essence of something, if I do not know something fully and completely, I'm not able to translate it. So no matter how much I tell you about Ali, Ali will only be that limited understanding I have, and I can only translate that limited understanding to you, unless I go back and I says, قال الصادق في حق جده علي بن أبي طالب هذا وهذا وهذا.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
Then you're open. Then the ilm opens. Because now these are the people who are connecting to wahi, who are talking about Ali ibn Abi Talib.
Beshak.
Because the understanding is different. For me, I have to choose what words I need so I can translate what I have in my heart to you. For a Sadiq, the words line up and says, choose us, please choose me, please choose word. Use us and tell us. Use us to tell about the haqq and the haqiqah and haqqaniya of Allah and Alullah and Muhammad and Al Muhammad.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
This is the difference between myself explaining and themselves explaining. So I brought a ziyarah, but the time is limited, and my ustad had he reminded me today.
Bismillah.
And I'll tell you about this ziyarah. Please read it if you can find time. This ziyarah is mentioned in Allama Majlis' Bihar al-Anwar. It's there. He takes it from the Amali and he takes it from Usul Kafi. You know how the Ahl Sunnah have 6 Sihasitta? We have the 4 kutub, which are we find to be the most authentic books, the one written closest to the time of the Ghaiba. Till the Imams were present, we did not need per se Ijtihad or ulama, right? This all came after. So these books were written closest to the time of the Sahib, and Usul Kafi has riwayah in it. So if somebody was to ask you, like, how old is the riwayah, how authentic this is as authentic can get in Usul Kafi. Just remember this name, Usul Kafi. And another thing. I'd bring a point here. Why is Ali special of all of the things that they have? What separates Ali ibn Abi Talib from the rest of humanity is his ilm.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. Beshak.
Why? Because this is the essential reason Allah created us, ilm and amal. I created man so he may make ibadah of me. How does one make ibadah of Allah he doesn't know? Allah says, I created you so you come to me and worship me. Like, I don't know how to worship. These are my selected men. They'll teach you how to worship me. So the ilm he has from Allah on how you can attain perfection, it is for Ali to give it to you. It is for Al Ali to give it to you. Yes.
Beshak.
There's an incident where the companion of Musa, Khidr, everyone's heard the story. If you haven't, it'd be a nice story to go back to and read. Where there's many incidents, it's an adventure Musa and Khidr go on. Many things happen. The wall falls down, a child is slain, there's a hole in a boat made. When all of these things are done, and Musa is told by Khidr, it's like, it's time for you to go. لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. He said, Musa, patience is running out. Why don't you carry on? You've learned your lesson. It's time for you to leave. At the time of separation, where they're parting ways, the riwayah says a bird comes and it goes to the river and it picks up in its beak some drops of water, and it drops that drop between where Musa and Khidr are standing. And then it goes again back to the river and it picks up another drop, goes to the east, goes to the west, goes to the north, goes to the south. Musa looks at Khidr and says, what's happening? He says, I don't know. The angel comes and he says, the drop of water between the both of you is the ilm Allah has given to the both of you. And the water drops that were sent north, south, east, and west are the ilm of Muhammad and al-Muhammad.
Subhanallah.
This Khidr. The ziyarah from Usul al-Kafi, it starts off, just for tabarruk, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In Kufa, when people hear that the Emir has been struck and he's passed away, many people gather around his house. One of those people, they say a man comes up and he starts reciting this. He says, رحمك الله يا أبا الحسن كنت أول القوم إسلاما وأخلصا. There's a whole ziyarah to a point where it ends it. It's only a page long, but he ends it and everybody starts crying. And then Al-Kafi says this, Ibn Shahr Ashub says this, Amali al-Saduq said this, Bihar al-Anwar said this. They're looking around and they see no one. When they did see someone, they asked Al-Hasan, like, who is this man who came? And he spoke to Ali about Ali. And in the ziyarah, he's talking about the sifat of Amir al-Mu'minin Ali salatu salam. He's naming the characteristics of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imam Hassan says, this is Khidr, the companion of Musa, who came to our house. He came here to give me tasalla and tasliya and pay his condolences. This was the ziyarah that I've heard from many ulama who recite this on this day, on the 21st, which is tomorrow. Inshallah. You can type on Google ziyarah of Nabi Khidr or Khidr for Amir al-Mu'minin on the 21st, and the reference I gave you, Usul al-Kafi. This is Ali ibn Abi Talib. So now me telling you who Ali is and Khidr telling you who Ali is two next level things. It is something else. But what separated the people who were with Imam Ali and the people who were not with Imam Ali? This is my subjective understanding. This is what I have arrived with in the years I've spent in Hausa reading the books. It comes down to exactly what the Prophet reduced it to, in a manner of saying, or simplified, is the love of the Ahl Bayt. Did you know Abdul Rahman ibn Muljim was appointed as a Quran teacher by the second Khalifa? Search this, is good. Some work I'll do and some work you do it. When you go home, look this up. The second Khalifa appointed Abdul Rahman ibn Muljim as a teacher for Quran because he was a good teacher in the Quran. The man who struck Ali ibn Abi Talib was appointed as a teacher for the Quran by the Caliph. Who were the people on the other side of Imam Hussein's camp? They say we could hear the humming and the buzzing of ayat and riwayat, and then there's salat and tahajjud and iqamah, all those things. So they're praying, they're huffaz of the Quran. What's missing here? What is missing between their adat and our ibadat? But if you do something so many times, it becomes an ada, right? It's a habit. But what's missing between, when do you know that this is an ibadah and this is an ada? You know what's missing? أَنَا النُّقْطَةُ تَحْتَ الْبَاءِ. The difference between ada and ibadah is the ba that's missing. It's the love of Muhammad and al-Muhammad. I have a question to ask, and you ask other ulama, and you can challenge me or question me after. How many of the ashab of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam were mujtahideen, fuqaha, ayatullah al-Raddam? Of the 72 that passed away with Imam al-Hussein, how many of them do you know were fuqaha? A few? 1, 2, 5, 10, 15. What were the rest of them? One man was Christian till the morning of Ashura. All he saw was Hussein, and he saw the army. He says, I'm with this man. Where is that man who became Muslim or did not? You find in the accounts where he says, I became Muslim? He just said, this is Tawheed. This man, Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, he is haq. He is right. He is the representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't understand anything after this. How many years of salat did he have behind him? Who are the people? What is then the motivation? What then drives these people? It is to understand and acknowledge haqq, right, in their imam, and do whatever they're told. And do their best. Ibadat in their place with the love of Muhammad and al-Muhammad. Salat in its place, azadari in its place, matamdari, all those things, they beautify the being and the existence of the Shia of Muhammad and al-Muhammad. If the Shia doesn't pray, then who else prays then? I know a person who goes to Karbala and all these places. He's never been to the Kaaba. People have different ideas. So my teacher told him, he says, the Kaaba is waiting for you to come. It's not you going to the Kaaba. The Kaaba looks out and says, oh, The one who was born inside here, this is his lover. It's not only one-sided, it's reciprocates. But what was missing was understanding. Abdul Rahman ibn Muljim became Abdul Rahman ibn Muljim Lanatullahi alayhi because he thought he knew better than the Imam of his time. It says, "Oh Ali, you do not know." And then there was a whole, if the children can go and study the historical, the plots and the ploys by the Umayyad regime and how they used people, because many people came up to the Emir and he says, "Oh, that person and that person, this is the politics or this is the new policy." The Emir says, if I was to practice policy, if I was to be a politician, there's no better politician than Ali ibn Abi Talib. It's just that Ali is an honest man. My justice does not allow me to stoop as low as these people can stoop. So Ali maintains his dignity and he accepts being struck in the masjid, but not settle for what he believes to be right and true. Inshallah, Allah give us the tawfiq ourselves to be a good role model along being the Shia for our children. Because children listen to us later, they watch us first. Children, they don't pay attention to what is being said. They see how they feel about it first. They see how it is being said. And they see the person who's telling us, is it someone we look up to? This is the natural state. Let Allah make us such that we walk in the feet or in the steps of those who walked in Karbala, and make our children walk in those steps as well. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. یہاں پہ باتیں بہت ساری ہیں کرنے کے لیے، لیکن وقت کے دامن میں گنجائش نہیں ہے. دیکھیں عزیزان محترم، یہ جو صدمہ ہے، یہ جو تکلیف ہے، یہ جو درد ہے علی ابن ابی طالب کے چلے جانے سے، جو میں نے بات شروع میں کہی تھی نا، یفرحون لفرحنا ویحزنون لحزننا، یہ ایک عجیب ادا ہے علی کے چاہنے والوں کی. یہ کوئی منقبت پڑھے تو ہنسنے لگتے ہیں، کوئی مسائب پڑھے تو فوراً رونے لگتے ہیں. باہر والا سوچتا ہوگا کہ یہ کیسے، کیا ان کے اندر مزاج ہے کہ ابھی ہنس رہے ہوتے ہیں فوراً رو رہے ہوتے ہیں. ان کو شاید اس بات کا اندازہ نہیں ہے کہ ہمارا جو دل ہے وہ ہمارے ہاتھوں میں نہیں ہے. اس دل کو عباس نے بہت پہلے خرید لیا تھا. ہم جب علم پہ جاتے ہیں، ہم کربلا جاتے ہیں، ہم اپنا دل دے کے آتے ہیں. اب ہمارا دل ہمارے اختیار میں نہیں ہے، یہ ہمارے مولا، ہمارے آقا، ہمارے سردار کے اختیار میں ہے. تو جب ہم اپنے مولا کو مسکراتا دیکھتے ہیں تو ہم مسکراتے ہیں. جب ان کی بھووں پہ شکن آتی ہے، جب ان کا ابرو خم ہوتا ہے تو ہم گریہ کرتے ہیں، ہم پریشان ہو جاتے ہیں. چاہنے والا نے پوچھا سلمان فارسی سے کہ سلمان، تمہیں شرم نہیں آئی، تمہیں غصہ نہیں آیا جب علی کی گردن میں رسن ڈال کر علی کو گھر سے گھسیٹ کر دربار میں لے کے جایا کر رہے تھے یا جا رہے تھے، تو اس وقت سلمان تمہیں غصہ نہیں آیا کہ نہیں با خدا میرا ہاتھ میرے نیام تلوار پہ تھا لیکن میری آنکھیں علی کی آنکھوں میں تھیں. دیکھیں ابھی میں جو بات کہی تھی انگلش میں کہ سلمان کس طرح سے علی کو چاہتے تھے، کس طرح امام کو معموم بن کے دکھایا. سلمان نے کہا کہ میں تیار تھا لیکن میری آنکھیں علی کی آنکھوں میں تھیں کہ کب میرا مولا اجازت دے، کب وہ مجھے اشارہ کرے. اور سلمان تلوار جو ہے بے نیام کرتے. لیکن اس وقت مولا کائنات نے کہا کہ سلمان صبر، جو میرا بھائی ہے محمد مصطفیٰ، جو آپ کا نبی ہے رسول خدا، اس نے مجھے امر کیا ہے، اس نے مجھے کمانڈ کیا ہے، اس نے مجھ سے کہا ہے. دیکھیں جو مالک اشتر کی مثال لے کے آیا تھا نا، وہ 10-15 دنوں کی، 1 مہینے کی محنت کافی تھی. یہ تو 1,24,000 انبیاء کا کام ہے، محمد مصطفیٰ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کی محنت ہے. اب وہ ایک رسی بن کے علی کے گردن میں ہے اور رسی سے علی کو گھسیٹا جا رہا ہے اور علی کہہ رہے ہیں صبر کرو. دیکھو یہ تمام محنتیں علی کی یہاں خاموشی پہ بندھی ہوئی ہیں، کیونکہ میرے بھائی نے مجھے یہ وصیت کی تھی کہ علی خاموش رہنا. خاموش امام. جب ابن ملجم لعنت اللہ علیہ نے ایک دفعہ ضرب لگائی، کوفے والے جو مسجد میں موجود تھے انہوں نے تو دیکھا، جو نہیں تھے روایت ہی کہتی ایک دفعہ عجیب آواز کوفے کی فضاؤں میں گھومنے لگی. تہدمت واللہ ارکان ہدا، خدا کی قسم ہدایت کے ارکان گر پڑے. جبرائیل ندا دے رہے ہیں کہ آج مومنوں تمہارا امیر رخصت ہوا چاہتا ہے. کون امیر المومنین جو خاموش ہیں؟ کون امیر المومنین جو صبر کر رہے ہیں؟ کون امیر المومنین کی جب ضرب لگی ہے؟ حضور آپ سمجھ رہے ہیں سرکار امیر المومنین کی شخصیت کیا ہے؟ کہتے ہیں حسن اس کو پانی پلایا. حسن دیکھو اس کے ہاتھ زیادہ زور سے مت باندھنا، ٹھیک ہے یہ خطا کار ہے لیکن یہ اس کے کچھ حقوق ہیں. یہ کون بات کر رہا ہے؟ حضور جس کے سر پہ ابھی اسی شخص نے تلوار سے حملہ کیا ہے اور زہر میں بجھی تلوار، جو آپ کے رنگ کو متغیر کر دیے، لیکن مولا کی فکر اور پریشانی کیا ہے کہ دیکھو اس کو ایک ضرب سے زیادہ ضرب مت لگانا حسن. مولا حسن گریہ فرما رہے ہیں، رو رہے ہیں. امام حسین ان کو امیر المومنین کو خاموش کر رہے ہیں کہ حسن بیٹا تسلی، حسن بیٹا دلاسا. امام حسین تشریف لاتے ہیں، امام وہی فرماتے ہیں حسین بیٹا تسلی، حسین بیٹا آرام سے. لیکن ایک دفعہ مولا کائنات گھر پہنچتے ہیں اور روایات کے اندر جملے ہیں کہ گھر سے بیٹیوں کے رونے کی آواز آتی ہے. امیر اپنے اصحاب کو مڑ کے ایک دفعہ دیکھتے ہیں اور کہتے ہیں کہ اگر تم لوگ، اب میں اپنے الفاظ میں کہہ رہا ہوں، اگر تم لوگ برا نہ مناؤ اب گھر خالی کر دو، اب علی کو اپنی بیٹی زینب سے ملنا ہے. میں کہوں سید سردار میرے مولا، ایک سوال ہاتھ جوڑ کے یہ پوچھنا چاہوں گا، یہ جو اس وقت آپ کے ساتھ مسجد سے گھر تک آئے ہیں یہ اجنبی ہیں یا آپ کے چاہنے والے ہیں؟ یقیناً جواب یہ آئے گا کہ جو میرے ساتھ آئے ہیں میرے چاہنے والے ہیں. ان کو پتہ ہے کہ اس گھر میں زینب ہے، ان کو پتہ ہے اس گھر میں زینب ہے. لیکن آپ کو یہ نہیں مناسب لگا کہ بی بی سیدہ کی لہرۂ ثانی کے رونے کی آواز ان کے کانوں تک پہنچے، تو آپ نے ان سے گزارش کی کہ آپ گھر کو خالی کر دیں. سیدنا و مولانا کربلا کے بعد یہی کوفہ ہوگا، یہی شہر ہوگا جس میں بی بی پلی ہیں بڑی ہیں، جس میں آپ امیر تھے. اور ایک وقت آ جائے گا کہ بازار کے اندر ان سیدانیوں کو گھمایا جائے گا اور لوگ اشارہ کر کر کے بتائیں گے کہ وہ زینب علی کی بیٹی، کہ وہ زینب علی کی بیٹی، کہ وہ زینب علی کی بیٹی. کبھی بیوی اپنے بالوں سے اپنے چہرے کو چھپائیں گی، کبھی سجاد اپنی پھوپھی کے سامنے آ جائیں گے، کبھی نیزے پہ حسین کا سر تلاوت قرآن کرے گا کہ ایک دفعہ زینب سے لوگوں کی نگاہیں ہٹ جائیں. جو گھر میں امام تشریف لاتے ہیں تو وصیت کرتے ہیں، تمام کو تمام کی وصیت کرتے ہیں. علماء بیان کرتے ہیں کہ ایک دفعہ وصیت کرتے کرتے جب سب کے ہاتھ امام حسن کے ہاتھ میں دیے تو علماء بیان کرتے ہیں کہ ایک دفعہ ابوالفضل کا ہاتھ امام حسین کے ہاتھ میں دیا. گویا کہ اس وقت جو ابوالفضل ہیں ان کو یہ بتانا چاہ رہے ہیں کہ دیکھو جس دن کے لیے علی نے تمہیں مانگا ہے عباس، اس دن کو اپنے بھائی کے ساتھ رہنا. جس طرح میں اپنے نبی کا علم بردار تھا، علمدار تم بھی رہنا عباس، اس دن بھول نہ جانا. اور کیا خوبصورتی سے اس رسم وفا کو علی کے اس علی بیٹے نے انجام دیا کہ جب اذن رخصت لینے آئے ہیں اور کہا کہ سید اجازت ہے میں میدان میں جاؤں، تو امام حسین کہتے ہیں عباس تم میدان میں چلے جاؤ گے، تم سپہ سالار ہو. ایک دفعہ روایت یہ کہتی ہے کہ مولا دائیں دیکھتے ہیں کبھی بائیں دیکھتے ہیں، کہتے ہیں کس لشکر کا میں سردار ہوں. یہاں تو کوئی لشکر نہیں رہا، یہاں علی اکبر نہیں رہا، یہاں قاسم نہیں رہے، یہاں برید کوئی بھی تو نہیں رہا، کس لشکر کا میں سردار ہوں. حضرت عباس ابوالفضل فرات پہ پہنچتے ہیں، پانی کو برتن جو قضیہ کے سامنے، جب واپس آتے ہیں ایک بات جو ہے وہ علماء اس بات کو کہا کرتے ہیں کہ جب واپس آ رہے تھے نا، جتنے بھی تیر لگے، کبھی بھی ابو الفضل کا گھوڑا جو ہے وہ سست نہیں ہوا، سینے میں تیر پیوست ہوئے سست نہیں ہوا، ہاتھ شہید ہو گئے سست نہیں ہوا، لیکن راوی کہتے ہیں ایک تیر جو ہے وہ ایک مشق پہ جا کے لگا ہے اور عباس گھوڑے کا رخ موڑ لیا۔ کہتے ہیں اب جو وعدہ عباس نے کیا وہ وہ نہیں کر سکے۔ سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره. مات من حسين.
Ya Hüseyin. Ya Hüseyin. Ya Hüseyin.